Hey everybody, it's Rory from A&S Gear, and we're upstairs at the table like we normally do. We're gonna try something a little different though. We're gonna start putting out videos from my bench downstairs where I normally do all of my work and servicing guns. We're gonna start a line of videos that is going to help you become a more confident, better paintball player when it comes to managing your own gear. How to fix your guns, common problems that I see with equipment, how to fix tanks, loaders, all those things that we always get questions about. Hopefully these videos can help you solve your own problems and not be relying on someone else to do for you. So I'm trying to help you out, make you a more confident, better paintball player. So watch the videos. We're gonna upload all sorts of content. Thanks for watching, ansgear.com. All right, so we've got Mini GS. This is a Buccaneer that a customer has sent in for low velocity or cycling issues. This is a great one to look through and try to see where we can find some problems, or if there is any problems, or what's going on with it. So again, I'm going to start from the outside. I can already see that the velocity adjuster is too far out, but that probably is because the customer was having velocity issues and so turned the velocity adjuster out, which is understandable. Again, these should be about 3/4 of a turn out from all the way in. Looking at the regulator at the bottom, so the velocity or the reg pressure adjuster is pretty much in the right spot, is just below flush, which is okay. But that, again, we won't know until we find out where exactly we need to be. Luckily, these do have a gauge on them, so we can gas them up and see where they sit. So let's go ahead and throw some gas on this thing real quick and just see what it's doing. I'm going to turn it on. Battery's good. Eyes are working. Solenoid seems like it was a little sticky, which could be causing a problem. That the you see it's doing definitely puffing, and if I shoot slowly, it's cycling. But as soon as I try to shoot quickly or anything like that, it's not cycling. So let's go ahead and start looking at our problems. I can see that this velocity or inline pressure is at about 220 right now. We should definitely be down lower than that. We don't ever want to exceed 200 PSI on minis or axes or whatever it happens to be. So I'm going to degas, and I'm going to back this out. Well, actually, first thing we should do probably is just make sure that the regulator is properly assembled. I do get these back quite often with them improperly put together. So let's just go out. Everything looks good. Plate's in the right spot. It's there. Spring's in the right spot. Piston is working. So let's just put this back together. And we're going to move this screw out. So right now we are a little bit out of past flush. So let's put that back on. And if you do set the screw on the cap when it is not installed, sometimes when you twist the cap back on, the screw will adjust. So I'm going to leave that way. I am going to take this and turn it all the way back in, and then 3/4 of a turn out. And then just for continuity, let's put gas back on it. And look, so we're at about 140, which is low. I'm going to adjust this again, if I can line this up properly. There we go. That just doesn't want to go in there. There we go. We might need to get into the regulator and kind of look inside there and see if that's having an issue also, because it seems a little slow to adjust and a little slow to function. See, as like the gauge is resetting, it's slowly going back up. So that might be an issue right there, but at least we're holding pressure. We're at about 180 right now, which is fine. So we're gonna degas, take this off. Now we're gonna start looking into other things as well. So let's pull the bolt out and check the bolt. So if I take the bolt out of this one, I'm gonna pull that out of there. I'm gonna pull, well, that's not a good sign right off the bat. I didn't feel the spring sticking on it at all. If I pull the spring out and put it on, the spring is backwards in this gun right now. So you can see that that slid right on, no problem. Should be this way, where it's hard to get over the top and then it snaps together at the bottom. This way will cause wear, but you can see it actually right there on the bolt. You can see these scratch marks on the bolt. That's caused by the spring being improperly assembled. There we go, that's the right way. When the spring is the other way, when it collapses down, every time the bolt moves back and forth, it doesn't collapse properly. It bends as it collapses. So it puts pressure on the bolt like that, and it's gonna scratch it up, and it can scratch up the inside of the gun as well. So it is extremely important that you put your spring properly on your bolt when it goes into the gun. So there we go. So that's together properly now. Let's put it back in and see what it does with the spring correctly in there. We got 2,000 in there. Again, we're about 180. Still definitely having some weird firing issues on there.
Okay, thanks.
So next thing I'm going to do is we're gonna just take the grips off of here. I'm gonna check the battery real fast. Even though when the light comes on the screen, it says like, hey, battery's good, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is good. I'm gonna do that. We're gonna check some board settings to make sure that the dwell is properly set, because the dwell is a huge factor in oh yeah, battery's good for sure. All right, so let's get into our programming right there. Now let's see if I can remember this. I got to look and see what the dwell setting, how to adjust that. I can't remember them all. We're gonna go here. If you ever have questions on like mini GSs, Axe 2.0s, things like that, Paintball Solutions has all the manuals, all the tech information on these guns. So let's go to mini GS English. So right now I'm pulling the computer, pulling the screen. Manual. Just want to see what the original dwell setting is. So stock dwell is 8 milliseconds, and that is 8 milliseconds is 11 blinks. So let's go to, which is orange, so solid orange, it's that one. 1, 2, 3, it's only at 2. So The setting for the dwell is at 2 milliseconds right now, when it should be at 8 milliseconds stock. So if you don't know what the dwell is how long the board tells the solenoid to activate in order to shoot the gun properly. This gun needs the solenoid to be active for 8 milliseconds in order for the bolt to cycle and push enough air through the gun. Customer has this gun set at 2 milliseconds to cycle properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to 8 milliseconds, which is 11 blinks. 2 blinks is 3.5 milliseconds. So again, we're going to go here, we're going to go 1, 2, we're going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then it's going to accept that setting. And now I'm going to exit out. I'm going to turn the gun back on. I'm going to put it into dry fire, get my tank, I'm going to gas it up. Again, we're still at the same pressure. We haven't adjusted this at all. Look at that. The gun works. So this is a lesson to everybody when it comes to changing things in the board. If you don't know how the board works, always reset it to factory after you've changed something, and then all of a sudden the gun doesn't work. There was really nothing wrong with this gun. This was adjusted because the gun wasn't achieving velocity, because the dwell setting had been adjusted, which wasn't letting the gun achieve velocity. So we reset the dwell to its factory position, put the velocity adjuster where it should be, set our pressure properly, and the gun is working just fine. Now the bolt spring obviously was in backwards. That's caused a little bit of scratching to the bolt, but that's not going to affect the gun working properly inside there. That is just a use thing. We don't want that to be backwards, otherwise we'll cause problems as we use the gun. But for the gun as it sits right now, the gun is fine. It's definitely shooting at velocity. You can hear the difference. It wouldn't even cycle before. That is a telltale sign of, especially when it's just not completely cycling, but not completely cycling every time, that you might have an incorrect electronic setting inside the gun. So that's that. We'll button this one back up and put it back on there. I can't stress enough, read your manuals, because people never read manuals, but this hopefully shows how easy a gun can go from a non-working state into a working state without really having to do anything to it. So again, hope this helps. We'll see you in the next video.